Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Mercado de Lisboa. So this is Mercado de Lisboa, set up as a 2-player game. There are no differences with the 3 or 4-player game, other than on the 4-player game, the 4th player would get this marker as well, which is a pub, and I'll go into what that means in a moment. What you are doing on this game is you are building up your markets within this space, and you're bringing in people to visit your food markets, and you're building restaurants to make those food markets worth a little bit more. There are these screens as well, which can be used to cover up the amount of money that you have. I choose not to use them. That's an optional rule. Sometimes you may choose to hide your money, sometimes not. And it's really up to the game table to decide whether you want to use that or not. So on your turn, you have 4 options. The 4th option is an option I've never taken. That is taking a coin. So if you run out of money, you can just take a coin. I've never used that option. Just be aware that with that option, if everyone at the table takes a coin as their turn, does that 4th option, that is the end of the game. If you're on a 2-player game, both players would need to do that twice in order to finish the game up. So other than that option, there are 3 other options that you have. The first option that you have is opening a stand. So for example, this player might open the tomato stand. This one is connected with pizza, by the way. There's a connection between stands and restaurants. So he might open that stand just there. Notice that I covered up a spot that had one of these round ones on it. It's face down. If it was face up, it can't be touched. These are restaurants, so he has just gained a restaurant in. To place that, it costs him 1 money. The reason it only costs him 1 money is he's the only stand in either of the rows. So it's the 1 money, goes into the bank, and he puts his marker on top of that to show that it's his. Once he's done that, he will then draw up to a 3rd piece. So he might take that one as the 3rd one, and then this is refilled with markers, so there's always 3 available. It's then the green person's turn. If either of them chose to build in this row, it would cost them 2 money. 1 money for the stand that they're placing, plus 1 for each other stand in that same row. In this case, that would be 2 money, even though there's only 1 there. So it's whatever the highest amount is. If this one was built as well, then that one would then cost 3 money. If one was built in here, it would cost them 4 money. The next thing you can do is open a restaurant. So the restaurant that he covered up earlier can now be opened. When he opens a restaurant, he also gains 1 money. If he placed that here or here or here, he would also take the other restaurant to be added into his pile. So you'll always gain 1 money for opening a restaurant. It doesn't matter how many things are in the rows. The other thing that you can do on your turn is bring in someone who's looking for food, which are these guys. Now, the rules with these guys is that when you bring one in, they can only have as many faces on the tile as there are stands in the row. So in this row, he could only put in a 1 face on either of those spots or on either of those spots. So let's say, for example, he brings this one in. This one is looking for tomatoes, which is joined to the pizza, or grapes, which is joined to the wine. When you place him, you are earning money. So you're earning money for each of the types of stand that match the pictures that he's looking for. So he's looking for tomatoes, he's one that gets tomatoes. Now, the way this works is 1 coin for each stand. If it is next to a restaurant that uses the same thing, you get an extra coin. If anything is next to the pub, you get another coin for that. Now notice it must be orthogonally adjacent. It cannot be diagonal. So with this setup, he would be getting 3 coins for this stand. That figure is then multiplied by the number of faces on the tile of the customer. So for example, right at this moment, he would get 3 coins for that. On a future turn, if he were to place that there, he would get the restaurant tile. He would pay 2 money to do the placement, but then he would gain the income from that customer. So he would gain 2 times the 1, the 2 would come in. Now, on that particular thing, if he had absolutely no money in front of him and he were to place that restaurant, normally he would have to pay the 2 money to place it. But because that's now going to earn 2 money, he can earn the 2 money from the customer and then pay for the restaurant. So that's a totally legal movement. So notice I said earlier about multiplication. For example, on a future turn, he places this one. I'll turn them face up so you can see what's going on. He places this one. This is also looking for the tomato stores, which is that one and that one. So what I currently have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a multiplier of 2 because there's 2 customers there. So he'd actually get 10 money for placing that particular tile. Now, if on a future turn, this tile was placed in, it would get no money because neither of those customers are looking for flowers or tulips. They're both looking for tomato and grape. However, if this player placed this one in, he would gain 1 times 1, so that's 1, plus 1 times 2, which is another 2. So he would actually gain 3 money for placing that particular tile in. Of course, if he had a restaurant next to him, then that's now worth 2. So it'd be 2 plus a 4, and that would be 6 money coming into that player. And that's pretty much the game. The game will continue along like that with placing restaurants and stands and customers until there are only 4 spaces left on the main board. These ones face down, the restaurants face down, don't count as covered spaces. They would need to be face up to count as covered spaces. Or till there are only 4 of these spaces for customers around the outside of the square. Whenever anything is taken from that side of the board, you just replace it straight away. So there's always 3 customers available within each size of customers, and there's always 3 items available or stands available to add in to what you have. Please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.